Hello friends, welcome back to A Good Life Farm. If you are brand new here, my name is Constance and I do about 3 videos every week on homesteading, home cooking, and back to basics and faith. And today I am sharing a recipe with all of you as part of the DoughVember collaboration that has been organized by Tulilo Creates. And this is going to be a really fun one. There are so many channels who are participating, and I've seen some of the recipes people are doing, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It is anything that involves dough. So it could be bread, it could be cookies. There's going to be all sorts of great things. And I have a list down below of all of the channels that are participating in this collaboration all through the month of November. And be sure to subscribe and watch the videos, give them a thumbs up, and leave a comment, because at the end of the month there is going to be a giveaway for some dough making tools. Being a little vague there, you'll just have to watch and see. And there's going to be a winner selected from one of the videos in the collaboration, and none of us know which one it's going to be. So be sure to leave a comment, because that will be your entry into the giveaway. Check out Tulilo Creates to find out all of the details. So the recipe that I'm sharing with you today is a very easy one. It's one that I grew up eating, and I've kind of adapted it to make a little bit differently than my mom and my grandmother made. But it is a German apple bread. And you know, it's really funny because I grew up eating this, and there really wasn't a recipe. It was just something that, you know, you just made. And when I was in high school, we had quite a number of exchange students from different countries. And because of that, we had like a big multicultural sort of festival towards the end of the school year. And people from all different backgrounds made recipes that you could sample and things like that. And it just so happened that the girl from Germany, her name was Anna, if I remember correctly, which is kind of funny because that's my daughter-in-law's name, who's also from Germany. But she made the exact same recipe, this German apple bread. And so that's what I'm going to share with all of you today. Now, today was a baking day in general. I was making my homemade bread. And so I just made a batch of this bread for 4 loaves. Now, on my website, agoodlifefarm.com, I have the full recipe with all of the measurements. And generally, this recipe makes a 9 by 13 pan, but we are empty nesters, and 9 by 13 of something sweet is a lot. And so I kind of cut this in half and made a square pan version of it. And so that's what you're going to see me making today. But basically, you're just going to start off with dough for a loaf of bread. And this is like a standard 9 by 5 inch loaf pan. And this is going to give you the square version like I'm making today. If you wanted to make the 9 by 13 pan, you would double that. And I have the measurements for all of that on my website. But you can make this recipe with your favorite sandwich bread. It can be white bread, wheat bread, it could even be sourdough bread. You just need enough of the dough to fill the bottom of a square baking pan. Now, normally I would make this in an 8-inch baking pan, but I actually don't have any 8-inch square pans anymore. All of my square pans are 9-inch, so my bread dough was a little bit small to fill this up, but it did a pretty good job and it still turned out fantastic. So you're going to go through all of the steps to make your favorite dough, and when it comes time to form your loaves, instead of forming it into a loaf to go into your loaf pan, you're going to shape it into a square and fill the bottom of your baking pan. Allow the dough to rise for about an hour or so, or until it's doubled in size. And I coat all of my baking pans with a mixture that I make. It is a baking spray replacement. I have the information for how to make that on my website. I'll put a link to that down below. I use this for just about anything that I bake, and nothing ever sticks in a pan, not even a bundt cake. I'm going to grab a small bowl and I'm going to mix 1.5 teaspoons of all-purpose flour, a tablespoon of granulated sugar, and a tablespoon of brown sugar. Then I'm going to add in some spices. About 1/4 teaspoon of the cinnamon, and then I'm going to put in a little bit of allspice and ground nutmeg, about 1/16 teaspoon, or just a good pinch of each of those. And I'm going to mix those together until everything is all incorporated. Now I'm going to take an apple, and you can use any kind of apple that you like. I'm using a Granny Smith apple, but I have used Gala, Honeycrisp, Red Delicious. Any apple that you have on hand would really work. And I'm going to peel it, and I'm going to cut it into some thin slices. And I'm just going to arrange those all over the top of the bread. Next, I'm going to take that dry mixture and I'm just going to sprinkle it all over the top of the bread. Then I'm going to take about 1 tablespoon or so of some milk, and I'm going to carefully drizzle it all over the top. Now on my website, where you can find a printable version of this recipe, and it is the 9x13 version, you'll see that I tell you to brush the milk over the top of the apples. I actually have not made this recipe in so long, and I was kind of making it from memory, and so I forgot that I tell everybody to brush the milk on, and I just did it the way my mom always did, and she always drizzled it on. It works just fine that way too. Next, I'm going to take a pat of butter, about 1.5 teaspoons or so, and I'm going to cut it into little bitty pieces, and I'm going to place those all over the top. Then I'm going to put this into the oven at the 400 degrees for 15 minutes, and then I'm going to reduce the heat down to 350 and bake it for another 10 to 15 minutes, but I'm going to check it at 10 to see if it's done. When it is done, I take it out and I just let it cool there in the pan. And what I love about this recipe is the sugar and the butter and the milk and the spices all come together with the apples, and the top gets just a little bit gooey and just so good. And I love it by itself, but I have had people tell me that this is amazing with a scoop of vanilla ice cream. So if that is the route you want to take, you could absolutely go for it. but I just love it the way I grew up eating it, as the simple gooey apple bread. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. Again, if you would like to make this, as I mentioned, you can find a printable version of it on my website. I'll put a link down below in the video description. And if you make it and you love this recipe, I would love for you to give me a 5-star rating there on my website. It helps me out and it tells the search engines that my recipes are good. And be sure to follow along with the DoughVember collaboration and see all of the fantastic recipes that everyone is sharing. And thank you to Tulilu Creates for inviting me to participate. I will have another video for this series later on in the month. So that is it for today. Thanks for joining me here at A Good Life Farm. My name is Constance, and I'll talk to y'all next time.